September 18th, Village of Woodbury Planning Board meeting. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Has the board had a chance to review the minutes from the September 4th meeting?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
A second.
First, second. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay. So, I am going to break from the regular agenda for a minute, just to do a little bit of a special presentation here. Tonight is, I guess I say a sad night in the planning board. Our secretary of 24 years is retiring. The longest serving, from what I understand, the longest serving planning board member there is. Been here since the town, the village, before most of the development was here. Before the Commons too. I would say she has definitely the hardest job of the planning board, trying to take all the back and forth banter, talking, and conversations that happen and put it into sense. So on behalf of myself and the rest of the planning board, I want to thank you for your service to this board, to this town, this village, and it really is going to be a huge loss. It's very hard to fill. Trustee Andrew has a little something.
And he couldn't pronounce the last name.
I can. I call you guacamole. I won't be honest.
Yeah, let me stand up. Let's take a photo. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. Moving on to regular agenda items. Rock and Man 24 Catskill High Rail, public hearing for revised site plan, special permit and ARB for proposed shul and mikveh to be located within an existing single-family dwelling. This property is designated as a critical environmental area pursuant to SECA and subject to the village regulations for ridge preservations 3010-13. Said property is located at 24 Catskill High Rail in Central Valley and is known in the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 254, Block 7, Lot 2. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. John Queenan from Lang & Tully, engineer for the applicant. I'll just give a brief overview and I'll
Please.
turn it back to you. Sure. We're before you tonight with a proposed shul and mikveh located at 24 Catskill High Rail. The lot contains a single-family dwelling that is proposed to convert the basement, consisting of 1,927 square feet, into a shul and mikveh facility that would seat roughly 60 members, and that would consist of 30 congregates along with their families that would come to the facility. It's located on the lot, which is about 19,000 square feet in size. And if you can tell by the map here, up here is Catskill High Rail. Here's the roundabout, and below here is Ad Lake Fairway. Property has frontage on both Catskill High Rail and Ad Lake Fairway. The existing dwelling sits pretty much in the center of the lot. It has its driveway access off of Catskill High Rail. All that will remain the same. There is no proposed exterior changes or enlargement of the building footprint. Everything is going to be internally completed. And what we've done in the back is we're proposing a parking area for 6 spaces, 5 regular spaces, 1 handicap space. That includes a sidewalk from the parking area into the basement for access to the shul, and that requires the construction of a small retaining wall along the back, and that access is going to come off Ad Lake Fairway, as shown on the map. We've also updated the map to provide the landscaping that we discussed for screening from Ad Lake Fairway as best we could to fit that parking lot area in there. So that brings our total parking to 8 on the lot. The application is requesting consideration of several waivers, one being parking, the other one being lot area, as well as some numerous setbacks for the house of worship or shul use. The single-family dwelling would remain. The rabbi is to reside there, and that meets all of the bulk requirements as per the prior subdivision up there. That's pretty much it, unless you have any other questions I can go through in detail. We've been here for quite some time now, and I think hopefully we're working towards the end.
Thank you. Dennis?
I'll be brief because John covered a lot of it. It's on for public hearing, so you're going to receive the comments of the public tonight if there are any. There are some waivers that are requested, and that requires that you consider the substantial burden question. I think council will advise you of that, and you've already had some discussion on that, but there are a number of waivers that are required. You have an opinion from the building inspector regarding both uses can exist on this lot, but if you have both uses, then you must comply with the requirements of both uses. And that's why you end up in a number of issues which would normally be variances, but they're requesting waivers here because the board has the authority under that substantial burden question to grant waivers. If you find that they have not satisfied that burden, then it could be referred to the ZBA for the ZBA action on those, what would then be variances. We gave you some comments on water, wastewater, stormwater management. One or two I will talk about. In terms of site circulation and parking, we took a look at the limited grade work that they showed in the area where they put a wall in it, try to grade the property there. There's a question on the grades in that area, whether it's suitable for parking areas and whether it's suitable for ADA. And the applicant, I think, should supplement their site plan, getting you the information. As far as screening, they have provided some screening as required in the code. It looks like they have screening around the lot, but in an area where the retaining wall is serving as the screening. In one spot, I think it's a little lower than the code would require for screening, if it's going to be compatible or comparable, that is, to the hedgerow. So they should address that. There's a gravel drive that comes across the property. I guess that's to the west. Yeah, it's property to the west, which they were originally going to have in this application, but it's not part of the application now. That gravel drive will have to be addressed. They can't use that for access. It's across village-owned property. There were a number of other items here in terms of hours of operation. They have advised you there that they're going to be 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily. And with that type of activity going to 10 p.m. at certain times of the year, or at any time of the year, I guess, there's no information on lighting. There should be some low-level lighting. This is a residential area, so you don't want to have a glowing parking lot, but you do want it to be safe for the people that use it. So there should be some low-level lighting there for safe access. And you asked about parking restrictions for WP3, and I think I circulated to you the parking restrictions that were included in the traffic plan. It is one side of the street parking, so there are limitations. That all roads are one side of the street parking. And the other side is a fire lane, so there's no parking in there. And if you have any questions on my report, I'd be happy to answer them, but I think you might want to receive comments from the public.
Does the board have any comments for Dennis?
Dennis, you had a comment about water use and possible ways of reducing the amount that they're going to be using?
I don't know if they can. I think they probably already have water-saving features, and I don't know if there's anything else they can do in terms of their practices or whatever to try to reduce water consumption as well as wastewater discharge. In the municipality, we have had an issue with water supply lately, trying to develop additional supplies. So anything we can do to try to reduce consumption is valuable. Also, in this particular subdivision, there have been materials discarded into the waste system which have caused problems, blockages, clogging. We've had some sewer overflows, unusual and not indicative of the rest of the system. So it's a little unusual here, so we were just looking for whatever cooperation we can get from the operator of the shul to try to avoid that type of thing, to the extent they can.
Okay. If anybody else have questions for Dennis? And I know, Dennis, we spoke about it briefly, and our council's going to look into it. We did get an interpretation as far as screening of a commercial landscape screening requirements as far as a commercial application inside a residential zone. Did you not get this? Okay, sorry. I'll get you a copy. Gary is in the interpretation that 31042C2 does apply here because it is a commercial use within abutting a residential area. I believe Kelly is going to, or you're going to look into that a little bit further to see if that falls under the waiver requirements of this board.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so you are aware that we did get an opinion on that, so there's going to be something forthcoming on that.
Okay, appreciate it.
You want to? You want mine?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Kelly, you want it, or are you good? I'm not putting you on the spot. You don't have to if you want to.
Nope, I'll do it. I wanted to let the board know, so we did not mail out the lead agency notice until September 5th. We were waiting for the EAF from the applicant. So 30 days have not passed, so there's no action under SECRA that you can take right now. Really, what you can do tonight is hold the public hearing. That's it.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll ask that you take a seat, and we'll go out to the public. Gail, the sign-up sheet's up there, right?
Yes.
I asked anybody that if you're going to make public comments tonight, you just please write your name down so it can be properly recorded in the minutes. Not that we have a huge crowd. I ask everybody to be respectful of each other, address the board, not the applicant, and try to keep your comments within 3 minutes. With that, anybody in the first row wish to speak on this application? Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name's Ed, and I just had a question. You said just now that it's going to be operated like a commercial business. My question is the land going to be owned by another company, and then there's this congregation or religious corporation, are they going to be renting it from another business? That's my question.
Okay. We need your last name, Ed.
Hebel, H-E-B-E-L. Yeah.
Okay. Kelly, you want me to, or do you want to?
I didn't get the copy that you got.
I didn't print it. We do have an LLC form on file for the owners of the property, and who their legal representatives are, and those are the ones that are allowed to come and represent them and speak to this board on their behalf. As far as arrangements that are made after that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not the purview of this board. We are.
Right, they can rent it out as long as it's still being used for the same use to whomever and whatever company. You're absolutely correct.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Anybody else in the first row? Anybody in the second row?
Good evening. My name is Samuel Ehrenfeld. I reside at 31 Catskill High Rail, Monroe. First, I would like to thank the board for letting me make a short comment. I live across the street of the aforementioned property, and we are planning to have a shul on those premises. I live right across the street, as I said. The area is very hilly. It's not easy to walk. We need to attend shul 3 times a day, and it's not, there is no shuls in the area that we can get to, especially on the Jewish Sabbath and the Jewish holidays. And we also would like to have a mikveh, which we use from time to time. I spoke to all the neighbors around, and they all are very eager to see this shul be put into plan, into operation. Therefore, I respectfully ask the board to please vote yes on this shul. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else I'll come back to the first row. Anybody else in the second row? Third row. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is James Fryban. And I know this is a public hearing, I just had a question because the statement was that they're anticipated an occupancy of 60 persons, but that's over 300 square feet per person. How are they controlling the ultimate occupancy of this facility? And the other question I had, right now it's a residence, I assume that it's on the tax rolls. When they add the shul to it, does it become exempt as a religious operation? I was kind of confused by the term commercial property. Typically, religious operations are a separate and distinct use under the law. And I guess the final question I have, the final comment I have is that I understand you're dealing with something in the code called waivers. But in reality, the state law for villages provides that variances of area are solely within the jurisdiction of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Irrespective of what your local law says, I think you're at risk if you proceed without sending this forward so that the ZBA, who has a particular role in this process, is involved. I have no objection to what's proposed here. I'm just saying that procedurally, just like seeker, the village must comply with village law, which states that the ZBA only has this authority. Your board is of limited jurisdiction. Thank you.
As far as the first question, it would be most likely be a condition of the approval for the site plan and the special permit, and then that would become an enforcement matter for the building department. So it would be if someone called and complained, the building department would have to take up that matter if they're deemed to be over occupancy or what this board does approve them for. Second, I think it was an interpretation of how the land, and I may abuts residential districts. And it has to do with the screening requirements when a non-residential use abuts a residential use. So we did ask for an interpretation from the building department, building inspector on that. We did get that interpretation. We did ask our council to look into that further to see what, if any, power the board does have to waive any of that requirement. So like the council said, we can take no action on this application tonight, so we're going to wait till we hear back from that. And the third item, sorry, I'm going to punt.
Whether or not they are going to be tax exempt?
No, the state.
The waivers.
The waivers.
That aspect, actually, he's correct that area variances are solely within the jurisdiction of the ZBA. This is not an area variance. It's really something that also comes from state law under RLUIPA, which sets forth a test of a substantial burden being placed on the practice of somebody's religion. The village has just incorporated that into their code. So you are following state law in that regard.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question, sir. Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else in the room have any comments on this application? Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Yol Stasel. My address is 47 Catskill Highdale. We want to ask the board, we need a show like you need air to breathe. Otherwise, we can't proceed. Especially also, we have small kids. It's very dangerous if you don't have a show around our area. If you have to go Shabbos to far places, it's danger. No driving. And also, we especially take this house for the show because in the corner, it's a big lot, you plan to make the parking. But unfortunately, the village didn't accept yet to give us the property. So it's gonna be a big help for us, for everybody, especially the whole neighborhood. You know exactly that in the village in Woodbury Junction, we just paying tax, but we not get anything for this. So we appreciate that we pay you and you give us what we need. Especially, you know that from the snow we take care alone. We just pay tax, but we have the HOA, we pay for it, and also the roads. Usually when you pay tax, the village have to take care of it. But we not make an issue for this. But at least Appreciate that and give us what we need. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else in the first row of the room have any other comments on this application? Go ahead, sir. Oh.
Hi, my name is Mr. Schwartz. I'm living 29 Catskill Highway across the street of this property of the proposed shul. As Mr. Schnitzel says, this shul is very important for us. Without a shul, this whole neighborhood is not interesting. Like a house, we need a shul. So we thank the board for listening for each and every one. But please vote yes for this application. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? First? Go ahead, sir.
My name is Morris Itzkowitz. I reside at 30 Hudson Point, which is up on the hill looking down to the proposed shul and mikveh. I would like to ask the board that the board approves this variance, or whatever legal term it's called. For us, as it had been mentioned before, it's very important that we get this shul over there. It's, not only is it important to us during weekdays, but it's more important to us on Sabbath and holidays. We're coming upon the high holidays. Our customs require us to pray together, but at a minimum of 10 people, and to worship in a place of worship. So we cannot do it all on our own. And if we were to walk into the nearest place of worship, for some of us it would take an hour or more than an hour. Moreover, the people in that area are very much not only not opposed to it, but they are looking forward getting that granted. So therefore, I would ask the board to approve that variance. Thank you.
Just before you step away, if
Yeah,
you could sign it.
yeah. I was thinking whether...
Before you leave, you could just sign in, just so we get everybody's name right in the minutes, that's all. All right. First, anybody else like speaking on this application? First, second, final call? Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. On the question? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You want to? So we're going to have to reschedule for the EAF review because of when it was received, so we didn't have time to go over it.
Is there anything else that the board would like to go over tonight with the site plan that we had submitted? Is there any,
Did you have?
besides Dennis's?
I did.
You think go, so go.
Okay.
All right. I mean, you had questions to ask.
Yeah, but I just wasn't sure if we were going to do it tonight. Anyway, the parking. On the prior map, there were a total of 11 spaces,
Yes,
and now we're down to 8 spaces.
yes.
Okay. Why was that?
Based on the discussions with the board at the last meeting, there was some discussion to reduce the parking in order to make it a little more maneuverable, provide for the landscaping buffers, and also try to limit the development coverage. So by doing that, we went back to the congregation and asked them, what would be your parking needs? And then we trying to balance that with all the other factors. So we came up with this layout based on that. And that works with the handicap, with the ADA, the sidewalk, and limiting the retaining wall. So it's a function of scale there.
And truthfully, how much street parking do you think there's going to be? The anticipated amount?
I think most of the congregants are in the local area. So, I mean, most of the neighbors walking, so I would say, I don't think there'll be a lot. Maybe during the week if they're going somewhere, but for the most part, they'll walk there in the morning, they'll go back, get in the car, they'll go on for their day, probably go home at night, and then come in for the sundown, and they'll be parked at their house. So, on-street parking, I can't predict it, but I don't think it's going to be 100% on-street parking, and I don't think it's going to be, probably less than 50%.
And we don't know which side on either of those roads is the parking side?
Well, I think in the subdivision, I believe parking is restricted to one side of the road only. And
Right,
I
so
believe
that's
it's,
what I'm
I believe
asking.
it's the opposite side.
Yeah, I think Dennis commented on that.
Could we expect greater parking on the high holidays, greater parking needs?
I don't believe that there's driving on the high holidays, so everyone would be generally walking. So I would
it's
say
the opposite.
probably not
We'll get him.
for vehicular.
All right, thank you.
And just for clarification, this is just going to be for prayer and mikvah uses. There's going to be no school, no daycare.
No school, no daycare.
Okay.
Shul, mikvah.
Okay. And I know there was a question with Dennis with lighting, so if we can get a,
Yeah, basically, I think the site has lights associated with the house now. I don't know if the board is looking for something in terms of like a dedicated parking lot light per se, or additional lights off the house.
It's just the level of parking in, the lighting in the house may be sufficient. I just don't know what that translates to in the parking lot.
Okay.
Also, is there any architectural change to the structure?
No, not to the exterior.
Okay.
Not to the exterior.
I mean, Kelly, we jogged my memory. I mean, it's in ARB. It's in, oh my God, I can't think of the name. Bridge preservation. Wow. So do we have to do a separate ARB or can we do both together?
No, you can do it all together. I mean, if they don't have any changes, it's going to be, I think the public hearing was on the ARB as well tonight,
Okay.
and bridge preservation, so you're going to be fine.
We don't need them to submit drawings, though, that showing the height of the building is under
The
ARB.
building's under 35 feet, it has to be. And one of the requirements of ridge preservation is they submit a photo rendering of what it's going to look like. Well, they don't really have to do that, they can just take a picture of it, and that's what it,
We can give you that.
that's the visibility. And that's been approved
Thank you.
previously.
And thank you.
It would be helpful to have that photo for the file.
Yes.
There you go.
We fished out what we were trying to get. There you go.
Yeah, well, it's helpful that there are
Yeah.
no changes to the exterior, otherwise it would make it more difficult.
Yeah, then we'd have to file for the ARB.
Does the board have any more questions for the applicant at this time?
No.
Does the applicant have any more questions for the board?
I don't think so. I mean, we'll go through Dennis's, we'll get these addressed, and we'll be back probably for the next meeting.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, Woodbury Commons, public hearing for an amended site plan, special permit, and ARB for an outdoor dining patio. Said property is located off Route 32 in Central Valley and is known in the Village of Woodbury tax maps, Section 225, Lot 1, Lot 70.2, and Section 226, Block 1, Lot 1.
Thanks, good night.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna get squared away. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good, Mr. Chairman, doing well. Good evening, board, consultants, public, and Gail. Congratulations. I was doing some quick math in my head, and I think I'm about the 7th developer representing Chelsea, Simon, yeah, who cares? So, but on behalf of everyone, all my predecessors, thank you very much, and good luck. Members of the board, we're here for the public hearing and ARB review for Suite 448 at Woodbury Common. My name is John Villapiano, Vice President of Development with Premium Outlet Partners, owner-operator of Woodbury Common. I previously did a presentation on this project and received feedback from consultants as well as the board. What was resubmitted back as its own application for the patio as well as the exterior facade changes, I believe addresses the main questions and concerns of the board. Particularly, this is the old plan that was previously submitted on July the 2nd. It was page 3 of that presentation book. One question was, or concern about the pedestrian promenade was the point that jutted out into the pathway beyond the existing curb line. What we did was work with the tenant, going to what is page 3 of the current presentation book. We were able to realign the proposed brick seat wall to just be a continuation of the existing curb, the Belgian block curb, and then it would turn in front of the storefront. Overall, we expanded the patio area by 105 square feet. Concurrent with these plan changes, the tenant, as well as our architecture team, we agreed to infill what is currently the pathway into the main entrance of the old restaurant. That will now be a landscape bed. So there is actually a net decrease of impervious area of 335 square feet.
Sorry, everybody got an Amber Alert at the same time.
Okay.
No, and it overrides the silence on phones.
Thought my time
Sorry
was,
about that, sir.
Thought my time was up.
Now I'll bring a shot clock for the big expansion.
Continuing, so that addresses one of the main concerns, and then also provide some clarification on the amount of pervious coverage that we are providing. One other question, and this was provided on page 5 of the presentation book, was the tenant had offered, and Premium Outlet Partners is really just seeking 100 seats on this patio. What we provided was an architectural concept that shows how this seating could be laid out. And I just want to stress the fact that this is labeled the concept for a purpose. Obviously, we will make sure, or the tenant will make sure, that there's adequate means of egress. Just as a business model, they need their wait staff to be able to get to their customers sitting at these tables. But we need to maintain flexibility. There may not all be 4 tops. There may not be just, I believe it's 6 2 tops. So we just had our architect work with the tenant to provide a plan that shows how this could be comfortably laid out and still provide for 100 seats.
John, can I ask you a question on this one?
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Okay, so where the current main entrance is into that space, on your map, it says existing entry node. This area to be further modified under separate building permit related to tenant uplift of this space. No entry at this location currently proposed. So where is the main entrance going to be?
Right here.
So customers will walk through the outdoor seating to get into this restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was reading that right.
Mm-hmm. No problem. Yeah, the facade, the elevations that we provided in the renderings do depict that. We kind of, as we work with the tenants, they control the interior fit out, and we kind of put that ball into their court. Being the owner of the property, we're responsible for the exterior. So the architect didn't change anything. This is a plan that our architect did. So he didn't make any representation about what's happening with that door. That's being handled as the interior work by the tenant, which is separated. What we have in front of you are the changes that would result to the facade as a result of that door going away.
Right, now I understand that, and it's just that, you know, if it's a popular dining place and the patio is full, and you're gonna have a backup all of a sudden of people coming out there and trying to wait and disturbing people, possibly disturbing people that are eating. That's why I was confused why they would wanna move that main entrance away from where it already is. That patio, to me, I don't know, it's gonna be too congested with people.
It has to do with the tenant desires and the layout of the interior. I can tell you that their interior space does include a waiting area. So, you know, it's from a site visibility, when you're looking at this corner, the tenant expressed a lot of interest as making that the focal point because you can see it from multiple directions. They felt that this one was tucked away a little too much.
Okay. All right.
But a crowded tenant that's well-liked amongst our customers, I guess we could have worse problems. There's a lot of seating inside, too. Mr. Chairman, do you want me to go into more specifics about the architecture, or do you want me to hold off for the hearing, or just continue to present?
Okay, I think we agree we could do the public hearing tonight on the whole thing, right?
So he should give you a presentation on the ARB materials, but I do want to say that an ARB application was not received with setting forth the form with the colors and everything like that. So that will have to be submitted based on whatever he presents to you tonight.
Now, of course, if you don't want to go forward with the ARB part, we can.
No. That was submitted. That was submitted and provided.
I don't have it either.
If it was provided, then none of the guys are going to so it needs to be resubmitted so that we all have it.
Oh, I have the form with me.
I don't think I have it in my file either, but we just don't have the form, but you do have the submittal in the open submission in the booklet.
Yeah.
As well as the see has it here with the colors and materials.
Mhm.
I think you can still present that, you know, we can show everyone in the public, it's just a matter of our records. And so I think that the application can be supplemented.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have to hold the process up tonight. We can just kind of move along and make that a part of before anything gets finalized. Okay.
Yeah, my apologies. Maybe I didn't attach it, but
Send it over to Maria tomorrow.
I will send it to Maria tomorrow. It is right here. So as Dennis noted, on page 10 of the presentation book, we do have a photo of what is being proposed. For the most part, the tenant is, in terms of materials, is leaving everything in place. There are going to be some modifications to the gables, the gable roofs at the main entrance to, again, make it more of a main entrance. But that would be to match the adjacent gable that it currently exists on the front of the front elevation. The roof will be as is. That's not changing, be the asphalt shingle, brown to match the rest of the district. The hardy plank, the brick veneer, the vinyl facades, those will all remain as is, except for they will be painted to match the colors and the color scheme that are presented in the elevations, that are presented in the renderings. Here we have the main change to a darker gray. Right here is the paint with Benjamin Moore, gravel gray. Again, consistent with the rest of the Evergreen Hamptons district. The trim will be painted white to match the rest of the district. The big change with the facades will be the awnings. The old tenant did have, coincidentally, green awnings as well. Those will be removed. They actually have already been removed. And they will be replaced with powder-coated aluminum to match the tenant brand. They will be a mixture of colors. It'll be white, it'll be green, it'll be red. This will be an Italian restaurant. The other two materials provided on our board are just umbrella fabrics for the patio seating, and these are the green and white down here. More of a FYI. One other question about the exterior finish that was raised in July was about the signs. On the gables, the signs will be reverse channel backlit signs which match other tenants in the district. They will be LED lit. And the window signs will be decals, logos, advertisements consistent with what we've seen elsewhere. And those will all comply with our tenant signage standards. The last question, probably not really ARB related, but back to the plan now that I look at it. There was a question about the service court and deliveries. This plan does show, this is an emergency exit and it will remain. This door back here that opens up to the existing service court, that will be used by the tenant for all deliveries. It is a service court that services all of these tenants in this area. A question was asked whether or not you could see it from 32. There actually is a sizable retaining wall that backs into that service court, and you really can't even see down into it unless you're standing on the ring road that abuts it. So with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Dennis.
Okay. John's gone over a good presentation. That's basically it. We asked for a number of things. They've addressed most of those. I'll tell you just a few items for the record. Obviously, it's a permitted use in the zone as part of this commercial center. As far as GLA, that's something that we always look at. That's gross leasable area. Gary gave you an opinion on this, that this is a temporary use. It basically takes the place of people that might be sitting on sitting walls or someplace else and providing them amenity. It's a seasonal use, so he did not believe that it contributes to the GLA. But I will say for the applicant and for you that this could change if it became a significant part of the development. It's a small portion of the development now, and as such, he believes that it's seasonal and not subject to the review on GLA. As far as coverage, this adds slightly to the coverage. The last comprehensive analysis you had with coverage was for the 2012 improvements, and at that time they were at 63.2%. This is a very small addition and not worthy of a review further, but there's ample reserve space for coverage. We will be requiring, though, when they come in for their 2012 improvements, I think, the Phase 5 improvements, that is, which they're reviewing now or preparing. Once that comes in, we're going to be looking for a comprehensive review on coverage on the site. because there were certain land revisions with exit 131 changes and other things they've done, and it's the first good opportunity the board will have to take a look at that in a comprehensive way. But for now, for this application, this is certainly satisfactory. As far as pedestrian circulation and safety, this is going to be a development that's exterior, and it's going to take place in a high-traffic area, like there's a low-traffic area that Woodbury Common. But it's a high pedestrian movement area. They did a very good job when they did the 2012 improvements by cordoning off areas where they were doing some construction. Either that or where they're doing overhead work, they do it at night, or they protect the public. We would expect that you would have the same kind of a condition or requirement in this particular application. Knowing the way people are today, with a low seating wall out in a high pedestrian movement area, I suggested in the report that the applicant put in some kind of controls to make sure that people, when they're looking at their cell phones and not looking where they're walking, don't walk into a low seating wall. They've already fixed it a little bit by pushing it out of the walkway now and following the old curb path. But if they have a need for a receptacle, garbage can, or they have a need for a low-level bollard lighting or anything like that, if they could put that along that wall to draw people's attention to it so that there's something more massive in front of them rather than a low wall so they don't walk into it, it might be something they want to consider. As far as ESO access, I think the police and fire department indicated they have no concerns with the proposed development, that they're not encroaching into any paths that they currently use. And the seating wall, I think, is wide enough so that the ambulance will need to have a full stretcher access into the structure, which is what they've always required. In terms of ARB, John has provided you with information. The facade isn't going to change that much as he's indicated. However, the only thing you should take a look at and make sure you're comfortable with is the window treatments. And they gave a picture on page 12 in the handout. And what it is this is an Italian restaurant, and they're certainly not hiding that. They're providing good visibility for that, and it's going to be a little bit different. In the location, it is in a high traffic area, but I don't think it's visible from 32, so it's basically an interior appearance. So just for the board, that's a little different than, and it's a different use than other uses in this region of Woodbury Common, and it's going to look a little different with those window treatments. Stand out, if you will. The signage, they've already said that they're going to comply with the signage plan that this board previously approved, and that was to limit, because there's so many different signs here, you limit your review by simply having a plan that has been approved by this board, and if it falls into compliance with those requirements, which are in the building department, then basically the board has accepted that. And that's all I have. And again, it's subject to public hearing, so.
Does any member of this board have a question for Dennis?
Clarification. Dennis, in their narrative, they said that with the change, it was, the patio is 1,635 square feet. And in your memo, I think you say that it's 1,542 square feet.
I thought you were talking about the net. Well, the net areas have changed. I'll take a look. I said revised from 1,530 to 1,542. I'll take a look. Frankly,
I was confused on the math.
I could have typed the wrong number. I have to take a look, but they did. The applicant's revised plans, they have a net increase of 621 square feet, and they originally had 956 square feet. So that's the increase. It's an increase in the impervious area, which is the critical item here, but it's a smaller increase than they originally thought of, and it falls within the coverage requirement. But I'll take a look.
And then your item number 2 under site plan, that last sentence. So does the village sign off on a safety plan, or?
No, the safety plan is a requirement of Woodbury Common and its contractors. The village, building department, us as your inspectors over there, if we note something that is unsafe, we'll note it to the contractor, but that doesn't absolve them of their ultimate responsibility for safety. And so that's what I wanted to make clear in there, that it's their responsibility for safety. Even though you may have a condition in there, and I recommend that you do have a condition in it, that says that they should do certain things to enhance the safety at the site and certain limitations on them. Nevertheless, safety is their responsibility.
Okay. And then my final question, which I don't know, I guess it would be for both of you. I noticed the rear of this building, you're putting in two new sets of windows in the rear.
Well,
There's like, there's no windows there now. From what I saw when I went down there. We don't have a rear as is.
Oh, he's talking about back here?
I'm talking about the rear.
the rear elevation, yes. I mean, there's definitely the door. I'm trying to go by
Yeah,
memory.
there's the door, I have a picture of it. The
Okay.
door's down there, and there's nothing there now except for that door.
Okay.
So now there's two sets of windows. Was there anything originally, because most of the buildings don't have any windows in the rear of their buildings. Was there anything in the original approval as far as the rear of these buildings?
Are you adding windows there?
Yes, yes. Well, they're technically doors is the way the tenant's architect is looking at them.
They look like those the same doors that they have on the side.
Yeah, yes.
Well, generally, you don't have windows into the service courtyard areas because it's a service courtyard area.
Yes.
And typically, that's an area which is either storage in the back of house or something along those lines. In this particular case, maybe because of the window treatment you had, maybe you can't see out and it's just a way of light coming in for a table. I'm not sure.
Well, going with what Sandra's mentioning, so we're talking,
I think it's page 9 on your.
So those aren't there now,
they're not.
and they
They're
say
not.
that they're windows, right?
So-
That wording?
Yes, the new window opening is what they're being referred to with the awning. So this is new, but it will match what's on the other elevations. What I would liken this to is right directly across the street with Shake Shack. So this is on a corner. This is not within the service court. It's within a view of the rest of the Niagara section. So it's really, what the tenant's trying to do is create visual interest from the pedestrians on the property. Again, along the lines of what was asked about the service court, this is down a ways, and you will not be able to see it from 32, the way that the orientation of the rear walls.
Okay, well, that's how, was there anything, do you recall anything in the original approvals as far as the rear of these buildings? Was there,
No, this is in the service court area. They do have, Applebee's had a logo up in that dormer section, and that's being taken down, and you're putting the other one in Parm.
that's a new one, right? Where Parm is right now? That's
Parm is a new one,
Applebee's
but
had-
Applebee's was on the
This
left.
one.
right, so that's a new one that's gonna be built.
And this one will be removed.
All right, we should, I think if Applebee's was there, it's probably fine, but I think we should go to Gary on this Parm one, just to make sure. The ones down below, I agree that they're not going to be visible. The one up in the dormer section up above, I don't know if Gary's already made a determination on visibility. There is a condition in the Woodbury Common Resolution of Approval regarding signs that are visible from 32. And if it's visible from 32, it has a certain different level of review. We'll take a look at that. I think we'll talk to Gary about that one and see what his opinion is on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. I actually have one question for you, Dennis. With the main entrance of the building emptying into a patio area and wishing that the business does well and the patio area is full, is that allowed for an emergency exit? Because if you have 100, and we're not holding you to a number, but 100 or so seats out there, and that's full, and then the people have to evacuate the building. Now they're trying to go out a main entrance where a potential patio is full.
Well, the building's not changing, okay? The patio may be full, but the building's not changing interior, the occupancy. If you have to get a stretcher in, you go through that door now, and if you have to evacuate people, they evacuate out of that door right now. I'm not the best person on ESOs. We usually refer that to your ESOs and those, but don't know that changes dramatically. And as far as queuing up, where they're going to queue in terms of waiting for a table, I've seen places like this where they have outdoor dining, and typically they put a station at the entryway, right out in the front, and they have a table there where they take names or whatever, and people wait out there as opposed to queuing up around the tables. But that's their practice. It depends how much waiting they have.
Dennis, can we get the ESOs to reevaluate that? I don't know whether they were aware that.
The only
there'd be
one,
about 100.
the police and fire already commented on it. They basically said that the ambulance we didn't hear from. I can try to see if we can get, I can explain the concerns of the board best I can, and see if the ambulance has anything to add or any of the other ESOs.
Okay, thank you.
I have the email from Chief Watson that there's no concerns. You have one from the fire department?
I had a note that I had it from both of them.
Okay. I just may have forgot to put it in my folder, that's all.
They look almost identical.
All right, is anything else for the
Yeah.
board?
John, when will we know specifically how that low-level wall would be accented? Especially I'm concerned in evening time, whether it's going to be visible enough for people that, are distracted or, not visually good at night.
I mean, in terms of accent lighting within the wall itself, I know we've done that. There's LED strips that we've put under the caps for walls on other properties. I don't believe brick seat walls at Woodbury Common have that feature. I mean, what I would respond to provide any level of comfort is the ambient lighting that we have within our promenades is very high. And there is existing Belgian block curbing out there today, as well as in front of all of the stores in this section. So, I mean, the hazards do exist. We're well aware. Obviously, if there's something that's overlooked in the point of design and implementation that needs to be corrected, we would do it. But there's nothing specific in the architecture that will light up the seat wall.
Is there a date that you can give us that we specifically would know what they plan to do with that?
Well, with the seat wall?
Yeah, as far as making accenting it more.
There's no plan to do that at this point.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just had one question. On the conceptual plan, I believe that was the first picture. I think you briefly discussed it, but can you just clarify again the handicap, how that would work? The seat, no, I'm sorry, it was the second page. The second page. Or the one with the seating.
Oh, the seating, okay.
Yeah, how would the handicap access work in that area?
Well, there's no grade elevation change. So there's an opening in the patio that's 8 feet wide, and there'd be a means of egress to the front door that would also be 8 feet wide.
Okay, so it's level. It is no.
It is level. Yes, there's no step there.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, anything in terms of grade in this area would be ADA compliant.
Okay. Anybody else have questions before I go to the public? Okay. All right, just ask you. Sorman, thank you. Everybody in the first row left us. Anybody in the second row? Go ahead, Rob. Sorry, I don't know who you are.
Robin Kraus, Highland Mills. I like the concept, but I just think it's way too much for the site. I love patio dining myself, personally. I would, since this is a concept, unless I misunderstood, I'd like to see another concept drawn up and presented to the public. So I'm asking that the public hearing not be closed. I think 50 seats at this point would be a good start. Let's see how well the restaurant does, and I hope they do well, but who knows? I think pedestrian traffic with that configuration, with the entranceway, going through people eating dinner, you're going to lose customers. That's just not plausible in my opinion, not to mention not safe in a lot of ways. I don't want to eat dinner and lunch or grabbing a snack with 40,000 people at my shoulder. Fashion it after Shake Shack, which I know is a totally different configuration, but going through there, you're shoulder to shoulder with people trying to get into the entranceway to Shake Shack. So there's overspill on the walkway. I find myself when I go, which isn't often, in the street because people they're shoulder to shoulder. There's no place to move because it's such a popular spot. If this occurs, when again hope it does, but 50 seats max.
Thank you. Anybody else in the second row? Anybody in the third row? Anybody in the room roll? First, second, third, final call? I have a motion to close the public hearing.
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. My colleague, esteemed colleague, reminded me I forgot to read the public hearing notices. Do I need to read it or?
No, they know it's a public hearing. Now you've announced it, asked for as many comments, you're fine.
Okay.
But as far as, I thought you were calling me your esteemed colleague over here. I was like, oh, no. So for SECRA, this is consistent with what was previously studied, so you are able to reaffirm your finding statement. This did get referred to the Orange County Planning Department under 239 referral, and that came back as a local determination. So,
Do we need a motion to reaffirm
Yes,
lead
you do.
agency?
just to reaffirm the finding statement.
Okay. I'll make the motion that this board reaffirms previous findings of SECA for this applicant.
I second it.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so does this board have any other questions for the applicant or our consultants? Do we feel we are in a position to move forward, to ask our attorney to draft a letter of approval? Resolution of approval. Close enough. Yes, no?
I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll make the motion that we authorize our attorney to draft a resolution of approval, with the caveat that you get the ARB form into Maria, please.
Tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, board. Have a great rest of the night.
Take care. All right. Item number 3, Weiss Apple Hill, review decision on a revised proposed single-family home located at 26 Apple Hill Drive in Highland Mills. This property is designated as a critical environmental area pursuant to SECA and is subject to village regulations for ridge preservation, 310-13. Said property is known on the Village of Woodbury tax map, sections 204, Block 2, Lot 2. Give us a second. Should have known this was yours. Time's up.
That's it?
And as soon as it stops, you should say, "Hey, are there any more
Sorry.
Not sure what that means for this.
The firehouse has a call.
I don't know where we're, yeah, but I mean, the timing. Right.
Is still a single-family home?"
Okay, I think we're at the
Close
tail
enough.
end of it now.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm Barry Terrick, architect for the applicant. I think after many months or years or whatever it's been, I think we're at the point where the application before you has all the issues that have been brought up resolved to your satisfaction. There was a draft resolution written. We found one error in that resolution. Yeah, it listed 4 bedrooms, and the application and the site plan are designed for 5.
That's specific condition number 7. I apologize, I had left that in because previously it was 4 bedrooms and a nursery, and that nursery is a bedroom, so it should be 5. So number 7 should say the septic system shall be designed to accommodate only 5 bedrooms.
Right, it's just an oversight there. So there have been no changes since the last submittal. This is what we're ready to set in stone, so to speak. So hoping tonight we can memorialize this as a final.
It was a staircase added to the basement, wasn't it?
Staircase was added for the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We talked about it at the last meeting.
We talked about it, we submitted it the next day.
That's page 2, A2.
Yeah, there's a staircase on the rear. And I think, since you bring that up, there was one coordination thing that needed to occur. The staircase coming out of the basement on the right side was shown on the site plan, but my print had cut it off on the architectural, so I think we reprinted that to show the staircase on the right side.
On the page, there's no doors. Like the staircase that you added in goes into a wall. I presume there's going to be a door.
That's very cool. Yeah. We'll spring for a door.
Can you, when you
Absolutely. I don't know how that one.
And the same thing on the one on the right-hand side, it looks like you're going to leap through a window into, looks like the men's room.
There will be 3 wide doors.
Okay.
That'll come out.
I mean, that's cool if the guy wants to do aerobatics, get into his house.
Magic to me, but just apologize for that.
And I can add
A2?
A2?
Yeah, both locations will have a 3-foot in-swing door.
That may require shifting the stairway because it looks like it's going right into a demising wall.
Give me 1 second. You mind if I?
When I think I made a mistake, I was looking at the first floor.
Yeah, it's this here.
Okay. You know what, Dennis, I made a mistake, I think. I was looking at the first floor plan, not the basement plan. Unless you see something different on the basement plan.
I'll look at the basement.
Okay. Okay. And for the record, we did, Dennis did reach out to Gary for an opinion, opine, on if this meets the definition of a single-family dwelling. Per his September 11, 2019 memo, I have reviewed the revised drawing dated September 5th, 2019, which includes an additional stairway from the basement to the exterior as requested by the board. Although a number of water closets in the basement still exist, the labeling of men and women does not appear on this plan. The layout is not typical of other single-family dwellings. However, the code does not restrict the amount of bathrooms permitted. The applicant stated that he has a large extended family, and these water closets are for the convenience of his family during the family gatherings. The building permit, as well as certificate of occupancy, will restrict the use for a single-family purpose only, and any deviation would be a violation of the certificate of occupancy. Therefore, it is my opinion this dwelling would qualify as a single-family dwelling. And this was received from Gary Thomasberg on September 11th. You good with? Okay. Yep. All right. Does the board have any questions for the applicant before we go into? Go ahead.
Actually, it's for both Kelly and Barry. I thought we had discussed a condition about the berm, that the berm was not to be removed, but I didn't see any condition about that, right?
I don't know if we discussed a condition. I know it remains on the site plan. If it becomes a condition, it's not an issue for the applicant. I didn't know that It
I know we
needed,
had discussed
I didn't know
it
that it
several
needed something
times, but we did
specific,
want
but,
it removed.
They're obligated to comply with the site plan.
right.
This is on the site plan.
And they also have to file the deed restriction saying that it prohibits the removal of the above referenced berm in
Where's that, sir?
specific condition 9.
Right, yeah. Remember seeing it.
Yeah, 2-2 on page 6.
But I guess when I talk about,
Do you have a,
but I think what also makes sense is to add on to number 5, which talks about unnecessary clearing to be avoided, use of deciduous trees, to add another sentence saying the existing berm shall not be removed except as noted on the plans above.
Okay.
Yeah, that just reiterates the site plan, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
okay. Does anybody else have any questions for the applicant or consultants before we move forward?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead.
On this plan here?
Yep.
On the first page, just for clarification, I think it's a typo. It says A2 right here. Basement plan, 5,043? Yeah?
Yep.
A2, right? But this says, A2 says first floor, so I'm a little confused.
Should be.
So is it a typo? This is A1.
Yeah, it should say first floor.
Okay, so
That should say first.
this is a typo here.
Correct.
This A2, yeah, okay.
A2.
A2 is really A1.
The 5043 is correct.
Yeah.
The basement, it should say first floor.
And then the second question I have is, on A3, is this a bathroom here?
That is.
So there's no square footage taken into consideration? It's not part of the 5,043?
It's not. The 5,043 was the exterior perimeter
Right.
of the largest floor, which was the first floor.
Okay, so none of this drawing on A3 is
In
part of the
5043.
5,043?
No, nor is the basement.
No, it's the basement, okay,
Yeah,
just want to clarify,
yeah.
okay. Got it. I'm good, yep.
Based upon his concern, I think it would be appropriate to add a specific condition saying prior to signing with the plans, the applicant shall revise the cover sheet to accurately reflect the pages contained therein.
So that'd be number 10. Is that okay, that
We'll go with
you
it.
think go with it?
Yeah. We're still beaten down now. We'll just give it to us.
Barry.
Come on.
Yes, we can handle that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Good? Board's good?
I'm good.
Okay. I gotta start a resolution of approval, right? I can.
You can start at specific.
Okay, thank you. Nobody wants to hear my voice drone on. All right, specific condition number 1, no building permit shall be issued authorizing construction of any structure inconsistent with the architectural rendering submitted to and approved by the Architectural Review Board as part of this approval, nor shall any certificate of occupancy be issued for any structures constructed except in conformance with such renderings. Any deviation from such renderings will require further planning review board. Everybody okay with number 1? The Architectural Review Board, specific conditions for the Apple Hill Estates subdivision that are applicable to these lots are incorporated herein and by reference to the extent not superseded by this approval. Okay? Speak up if you have a concern. There shall be no additions, expansions, or alterations to this structure without returning to the Planning Board for consideration of an amended approval. Number 4, the windows of the dwelling must be non-glare. When constructing any proposed dwelling, unnecessary clearing must be avoided in the use of deciduous deciduous, thank you, and evergreen trees to supplement natural vegetation shall be provided as shown on the plans, and with the addition of the berm, well, it will be in.
The existing berm shall not be removed except to the extent, except as noted on the plans above.
Number 6, the colors and materials approved herein for the front of the dwelling shall be the same on all sides of the dwelling. Okay? The septic system shall be designed to accommodate only 5 bedrooms. The single-family dwelling cannot be used as a shul and/or mikvah or any other than a single-family residence without submitting an application for such modified use for review by the planning board and receipt of approval from the planning board. Okay? Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall provide proof of filing with the Orange County Clerk's Office of a deed of restriction in such a form as is satisfactory to the planning board attorney, I, prohibiting the removal of any tree located within the setback area unless such removal is limited to the greatest extent possible for the construction of the driveway, or the tree is dead, dying, or diseased in the opinion of the building inspector, in which event the removed tree must be replaced with a new mature tree, and prohibiting the removal of any of the above referenced berm except as limited to the greatest extent possible for construction of the driveway as proposed. Okay? The addition number 10.
Prior to the signing of the plans, the applicant shall revise the cover sheet to accurately reflect the pages contained within the plan.
I gotta go through the general conditions, or?
No, they're just general conditions. They're consistent with in all your resolutions.
Still new here. I'll make a motion that this board approve the resolution for the Apple Hill Drive LLC residence with the modifications that we discussed tonight.
I'll second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, sir.
Thank you very much.
And so, last but certainly not least, Hartman, review revised materials and review decision for ARB review of proposed single-family dwelling within the development known as Woodbury Villas. Said property is located at 7 Alloway Cross and is known on the Village of Woodbury's tax maps as Section 255, Block 1, Lot 7.
Hi. My name is Larry Hartman. I came here with revised plans and a lot of additional information that was requested by the board and by the consultants. I provided for the board and everybody a package, which basically had 3 main things. It had the new plans, the new revised plans, which I made smaller. Second, I had an approved, ARB-approved house within the neighborhood with what to compare with. And number 3, I had photos of just houses in the area. The board requested they wanted to see more about the area. So basically the first section is the first sheets 2 to 4 that are provided is the reduced plan. We narrowed the house with 12 feet from 108 feet to 96 feet. That reduced around 315 square feet per floor. We've made the other rooms a little slightly smaller, but the main thing is we removed on the main floor, we removed the 5th bedroom, so this is only going to have 4 bedrooms now. And in the bottom and on the floor below, we removed the guest bedroom, and again, we made the house a little bit smaller and everything, so which together it reduced the house with the 600 and so square feet. If you look at the plans, I had outlined in red the previously submitted plans and the square footages, and in black the new floor plan. So basically, and as far as to see it in 3D, so this is basically the original proposed plan, which had a guest room over here and a bedroom over here. So we basically removed this whole thing, pushed this whole thing together, and reduced the house with 12 feet. So as of now, This is the new design, and does not have that bedroom, just has the bathroom window, and it made the whole house 12 feet smaller. Page number 4 is the elevations. Obviously, I think you can see better in 3D, but in the elevations, you'll see that whole area where it has this 2 dormers. The new proposed plans has only 1. We basically removed top and bottom 2 bedrooms, so made the house around 630 square feet less. The next section of the booklet is the house that I'm comparing for. It's 3 Patterson Pass. 3 Patterson Pass had a special ARB approval in 2013. It was approved for the Pacific House. I think it was the original sponsor, or maybe it was, I think by then there was a couple of different sponsors that built. One of the sponsors came in, and they got approval for this house, the 3 Patterson Pass.
In front of the planning board?
Yeah,
Or the building department?
planning board.
And what date was that?
I have here the minutes. They had their first meeting February 6, 2013. Then they had a public hearing in March 20, 2013. And it got approved April 3, 2013.
April, what was the day?
April 3.
April 3rd?
Yeah.
You know what name it went under?
Doom's Custom Homes.
Don's Custom Homes.
Dom, D-O-M. Doms. And it says there, tax map 255331. So basically, what I believe, it's a sponsor who bought 4 lots on the same cul-de-sac in part of the Woodbury Junction, the high-end area where I am. And he proposed the 3 Patterson Pass home. And from the minutes, I see basically he provided 3, the same size home for all the plans. He just did modifications on the elevations. Eventually, he only built 1, which is the 3 Patterson Pass.
That list we gave you, we had Don's Custom Homes listed 4 units, and we had it as 3,400 square feet.
Correct. Actually, originally the plans they gave in was 3377, whatever, close to 3,400 for living space. But when we compared the mass, and that's what I did in the next part of it. So basically, page number 5 just gives you the front view. It's essentially the exact same width of the proposed building that I have. It's 96 feet wide. This is 96.6 inches minus 96.9 inches. I don't think that 3 inches is going to make it. So that's the picture at the front. Page number 6, it has the picture of the rear. As you can see, it has a full exposed basement. Basically a walkout. It has a double covered patio. It's a colonial, different than mine, which is basically, it has the unfinished basement, the living area, and on top of that, it has the sleeping area. So page number 6 shows the tower in the back. It's fully exposed. Page number 6 is the side view, also fully exposed. The garage is on the level of the basement. It has the bonus room above, and then it has an additional floor for the sleeping room. Page number 7 is the basement floor plan. It has an unfinished basement of 2,528, and has a garage of 655. These were all from the plans that I foiled, and the building department provided me what they submitted. He provided me the resolution and all of that. Page number 8 is the first floor. It has 2,528, and it has a bonus room of 655. I also included the covered decks, because this house has extensive covered decks with a lot of roofs on it. 428. In the front, there has 2 decks with 2 entrances, 160 and 263. On the second floor, I provided the storage, the 849 square feet for the second floor, and then additional open to above, which means it's actually a 2-story high, but for the mass, it's like 2 stories. 10 and 11, just providing additional pictures so you can get a real look, because I'm using this house as my comparison. That's the front of the house again. That's the back with the 3-story high back, and the double covered patio. Page number 12. That's where I did all the totals to compare the 3-person to the house that I'm proposing. These numbers are all the reduced size, the newly that I submitted now, which is the smaller house with the 600 square feet reduced. Total living space, he has as 3377, mine is 5349. So yes, I got approved for 3,400 living space, but if you look at the mass, which the board pushed me to do, and so because after all, you don't see the numbers, all you see is the mass. Total unfinished basement, it has 2528, mine has 3068. The garage, 655, and mine is 678, very similar. Bonus rooms and storage on upper floors. The 3-Patterson Pass has 1,091, mine doesn't have anything. Total void areas on second floor has 458. Obviously, mine has nothing because it doesn't have a second floor. If you look at the total finished and unfinished, which is basically the mass, the 3-Patterson Pass would have an 8109, and mine would have a 9093, which is 11.2% increase. I'm not sure if covered decks count as square footage, but if you do, if you count the cover decks that I have and the cover decks that the 3-Patterson has, as part of the square footage, mine would actually be increased by 1%. It would be less of a mass with 1%. That's just other comparison. The number of stories, that 3-Patterson Pass has the same width than mine, and it's a colonial, it has 3 stories. Mine has only 2 stories, and it's still the same width. Visible stories in the front is 2 stories. I'm showing only 1 story visible. And the average basement exposed, their basement exposed is 5.4. As you saw in the back, it's fully walkout basement with 5 or 6 doors to the outside and windows and everything. Mine has an average of 3.9. The next part is I just showed houses in the area, particularly the high-end area of the Woodbury Junction development. In the last meeting, it looked like if people are going to pass my home, it's going to be the mansion of the area. It's so much bigger, so much than the rest of the houses. So I just went around and took pictures of houses, just 10 houses in the area. And if you look at those houses, I don't think my house is going to stand out at all. If somebody passing by in the area, this would not be the house they would stop at and look. So this is just houses. If you look, page 1 has that. Then this is the stucco house. I believe this is the one at the bottom is the one that is the 3,700 square feet. I wasn't sure because none of those houses had Pacific site approval. Only the 3-Patterson Pass had for that particular, so I was able to locate it. There's 26 models, but I believe this is the 3,700. But again, 3,700. But if you look at the mass, it's way bigger than that. Then page number 14, that's 2 additional. Page number 15, I mean, if you look at those houses, they're all huge, the mass. Compared to this house, again, I don't think this is going to stand out at all. Page 16 has that house, has the top one, the bottom one, and then the Baracco Mansion. The Baracco Mansion, that's a house that was